The unexpected invasion. The sky erupted in a dazzling display of otherworldly light, painting the night with hues of purple and green that no human had ever witnessed before. For a brief moment, the world stood still, marveling at the celestial spectacle. Then, as the lights faded, an eerie silence descended upon the Earth. Dr. Samantha Chen, lead astrophysicist at the Global Space Observatory, frantically pored over the incoming data. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, bringing up chart after chart of unprecedented readings. "This can't be right," she muttered, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What's wrong, Dr. Chen?" her assistant, Jake, asked nervously. Samantha's eyes widened as the realization hit her. It's not a natural phenomenon. These energy signatures, they're artificial, and they're massive. She spun around to face her team, her voice steady but urgent. "Alert the authorities. We're dealing with first contact." Within hours, the world's leaders were gathered in an emergency video conference. Samantha found herself addressing presidents, prime ministers, and military generals, her heart pounding as she delivered the news that would change human history forever. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice echoing in the tense silence, "we are not alone in the universe, and our visitors are already here." As if on cue, reports began flooding in from around the globe. Enormous ships, each the size of a small city, materialized in the skies above major population centers. Their sleek obsidian hulls seemed to absorb light, creating ominous voids in the atmosphere. Panic spread like wildfire. Social media exploded with eyewitness accounts and shaky video footage. News anchors struggled to maintain composure as they reported on the unfolding events. The alien ships remained motionless, a silent but undeniable presence that demanded humanity's attention. In Washington, D.C., President Elena Rodriguez stood before a hastily assembled press conference. Her face, usually composed and confident, betrayed a hint of the fear that gripped the nation. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world," she began, her voice firm despite the circumstances. "We face an unprecedented situation. I assure you that we are doing everything in our power to establish communication with our visitors." But even as she spoke, the first signs of the aliens' true intentions became apparent. In orbit, Earth's satellites began to malfunction, their signals scrambled by an unknown force. Global communications faltered, plunging entire regions into digital darkness. At a military base in Nevada, Major David Cho watched in horror as his radar screens went blank. "We're blind," he reported to his superiors, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on his shoulders. "Whatever tech they're using, it's like nothing we've ever seen." As the world teetered on the brink of chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source. In a small tech startup in Tokyo, a young engineer named Hiroshi Tanaka made a discovery that would prove crucial in the coming conflict. Hiroshi had been working on an experimental quantum communication device when the invasion began. As he watched the news reports of failing satellites, a wild idea struck him. He rushed back to his lab, ignoring the evacuation orders blaring through the city. "If I'm right," he muttered to himself as he powered up his prototype, "their tech might not be as invulnerable as we think." Hours passed as Hiroshi worked tirelessly, fueled by a mixture of fear and determination. Finally, as dawn broke over a changed world, he achieved a breakthrough. His quantum device, operating on principles that defied conventional physics, managed to pierce through the alien interference. Elated, Hiroshi reached out to the Japanese government, his hands shaking as he dialed the emergency hotline. "I have a way to communicate," he shouted, barely containing his excitement. "We can fight back." But even as hope flickered to life in Tokyo, the situation elsewhere deteriorated rapidly. The alien ships, apparently satisfied with their initial display of technological superiority, began their assault in earnest. In London, the iconic Big Ben chimed its last as a searing beam of energy lanced down from a hovering ship above, reducing the historic landmark to molten rubble. Similar scenes played out across the globe, Rio's Christ the Redeemer, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Taj Mahal in India, all fell in a coordinated strike that seemed designed to crush humanity's spirit. Military forces scrambled to respond, but their most advanced fighter jets and missiles proved woefully inadequate against the alien defenses. Pilots reported their weapons simply dissipating against invisible shields, while others found that aircraft disabled mid-flight by mysterious energy pulses. In orbit, the International Space Station became an unwilling frontline observer to the unfolding invasion. Commander Sarah Lee, a veteran astronaut with nerves of steel, felt her blood run cold as she watched the alien armada descend upon her home planet. "Houston, do you copy?" she called repeatedly, knowing that her messages were likely lost in the communications blackout. As she floated in the eerily silent station, Sarah made a decision. "We're coming home," she announced to her crew. "Humanity needs every mind it can get, and we're not sitting this one out." Back on Earth, as governments struggled to coordinate a response and civilians sought shelter from the otherworldly onslaught, a global resistance began to take shape. Scientists, soldiers, and ordinary citizens alike rallied to defend their home, driven by a shared determination to prove that humanity would not go quietly into the night. Dr. Samantha Chen found herself at the center of this burgeoning resistance. Her expertise in astrophysics made her invaluable in analyzing the alien technology. Working around the clock with a team of brilliant minds from around the world, she began to piece together the puzzle of their adversaries' capabilities. "Their energy weapons operate on principles we've only theorized about," she explained to a group of military strategists. "But every system has its limits. We just need to find them." As the aliens pushed deeper into human territory, establishing beachheads in strategic locations around the globe, humanity's defenders worked tirelessly to turn the tide. In underground bunkers and hidden laboratories, a new generation of weapons and defenses began to take shape. Major David Cho, reeling from the loss of his comrades in the initial assault, threw himself into the development of new combat tactics. "We can't match them in direct confrontation," he argued in strategy sessions. "We need to think asymmetrically, use our knowledge of the terrain, our adaptability." In Japan, Hiroshi Tanaka's quantum communication breakthrough became the cornerstone of a new global network. As conventional internet and phone lines remained down, this unhackable quantum web allowed the resistance to coordinate their efforts in secret. President Rodriguez, who had narrowly escaped Washington, D.C. before it fell to the invaders, addressed the nation from a secure location. Her voice, transmitted via Hiroshi's quantum network, reached millions of frightened citizens. "We have been knocked down," she declared, her tone resolute, "but we are far from defeated. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before, from ice ages to plagues, and we have always emerged stronger. This invasion is no different. We will adapt, we will fight, and we will prevail." Her words, born of desperation but delivered with conviction, ignited a spark of defiance in the hearts of those who heard them. Across the world, pockets of resistance grew stronger, more organized. In the ruins of cities and the depths of forests, humans began to strike back. Guerrilla tactics, honed through centuries of terrestrial conflicts, proved surprisingly effective against the aliens' superior technology. Small victories accumulated, a supply line disrupted here, an outpost overrun there, each one boosting morale and providing valuable intelligence. As the first month of the invasion drew to a close, humanity found itself bloodied but unbowed. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a grim determination to survive and ultimately triumph. The aliens, for all their advanced technology, began to face a challenge they hadn't anticipated: the indomitable human spirit. In her makeshift lab, Dr. Samantha Chen made a startling discovery. Analyzing debris from a downed alien craft, she uncovered a vulnerability in their propulsion systems. "It's not much," she admitted to her colleagues, "but it's a start. If we can exploit this, we might be able to ground their ships." Major Cho, upon hearing the news, felt a surge of hope. "That's all we need," he said, a fierce grin spreading across his face. "Just a fighting chance." As night fell on a world forever changed, the Resistance prepared for their first major counteroffensive. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, but for the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to believe that victory might be possible. In the dark sky above, the alien ships loomed ominously, their occupants unaware that their seemingly easy conquest was about to face its first real challenge. The war for Earth was only just beginning, and humanity was ready to show the universe why they should never be underestimated. The adaptive defense. The early morning mist clung to the ground as a small team of resistance fighters crept through the ruins of what was once downtown Los Angeles. Led by Major David Cho, they moved with practiced stealth, their eyes constantly scanning for alien patrols. Their mission: to test Dr. Samantha Chen's latest invention against the invaders' technology. "Remember," David whispered to his team, "we're here to gather data, not start a war. Hit and run, just like we practiced." In his hand, he clutched a device that looked like a cross between a smartphone and a ray gun, the prototype of what Samantha had dubbed the EMP disruptor. If it worked as theorized, it could temporarily disable the aliens' energy shields, giving humanity its first real advantage in the conflict. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with their target, a lone alien scout ship hovering above the shattered remains of a skyscraper. David's heart raced as he raised the device, aiming it at the unsuspecting craft. "Now or never," he muttered, and pressed the activation switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like thunder compressed into a millisecond, a pulse of energy erupted from the disruptor. The alien ship's sleek surface rippled as if struck by an invisible wave. Its anti-gravity field fluctuated, causing it to bob erratically in the air. "It worked," one of David's team members exclaimed, unable to contain her excitement. But their celebration was short-lived. As the ship stabilized, it turned its attention to the source of the attack. A high-pitched whine filled the air as its weapons systems came online. "Fall back," David shouted, leading his team into the maze of destroyed buildings. As energy blasts sizzled past them, melting concrete and steel, he couldn't help but grin. They had just proved that the aliens weren't invincible. Thousands of miles away, in a repurposed bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Samantha Chen anxiously awaited news of the field test. When David's quantum-encrypted message came through, confirming the disruptor's effectiveness, she let out a whoop of joy that echoed through the underground facility. "We did it," she announced of a team of scientists and engineers. "Now we scale it up." The news of this small victory spread rapidly through the global resistance network. In hidden bases and makeshift labs around the world, hope surged anew. Humanity had drawn first blood in the technological war against their invaders. President Rodriguez, operating from a mobile command center that constantly moved to avoid detection, seized upon this momentum. In a broadcast that reached every pocket of resistance, she rallied humanity's defenders. "Today, we have proven that our ingenuity, our adaptability, is our greatest weapon," she declared. "The enemy may have crossed the stars to reach us, but they have underestimated the species they sought to conquer. Now we take the fight to them." Her words ignited a firestorm of activity. Across the globe, resistance cells that had been focusing on survival now turned their efforts towards active defense and even counterattacks. In the Australian outback, Aboriginal trackers teamed up with special forces to ambush alien patrols, using their deep knowledge of the harsh terrain to outmaneuver the invaders. The guerrilla tactics that had proven so effective in human conflicts now found a new application against an extraterrestrial foe. In the dense jungles of the Amazon, indigenous tribes whose first contact with the outside world had come alongside the alien invasion now played a crucial role. That intimate understanding of the rainforest ecosystem allowed them to spot the subtle changes caused by alien technology, leading resistance fighters to hidden enemy bases. But it wasn't just on the battlefields that humanity's adaptive spirit shone. in universities and tech companies that had gone underground, a new wave of innovation swept through every field of science and engineering. Hiroshi Tanaka's quantum communication breakthrough led to the development of unhackable encryption methods, allowing the resistance to coordinate globally without fear of interception. Biologists worked tirelessly to understand the alien physiology, searching for weaknesses that could be exploited. Psychologists and linguists collaborated to decipher the invaders' language and thought patterns, hoping to gain insight into their motivations and strategies. In orbit, the crew of the International Space Station, led by the indomitable Commander Sarah Lee, had transformed their scientific outpost into a spy satellite. Using their unique vantage point, they provided crucial intelligence on alien fleet movements and helped coordinate global defense efforts. "We've got movement in Sector 7, Sarah reported during one of her daily briefings with ground control. "Looks like they're massing for another push into Eastern Europe." This information allowed the resistance to preemptively evacuate civilian populations and set up ambushes along likely invasion routes. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. As weeks turned into months, the tide of the war began to shift, almost imperceptibly at first. The aliens still held air superiority and their technology remained far advanced, but they were facing a species that refused to accept defeat, that learned and adapted with astonishing speed. In his hidden workshop in Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka worked feverishly on his next project. Inspired by the success of the EMP disruptor, he aimed to take the concept further. If we can disrupt their shields, he mused, why not their entire communication network? His idea led to the development of the Babel field, a device that could create localized areas of quantum interference, effectively blinding and deafening the alien forces within its range. When first deployed in the battle for reclaiming Seoul, it turned the once coordinated alien battalions into disorganized, vulnerable targets. But with each human advancement came a costly reminder of the enemy's power. The aliens, realizing the threat posed by Earth's scientists, began targeting research facilities and known resistance strongholds with increased ferocity. In a devastating attack on the Rocky Mountain bunker, Dr. Samantha Chen found herself trapped beneath tons of rubble as alien energy weapons reduced the mountain to slag. As she lay there, oxygen running low, she used her last moments to transmit her latest research findings through the quantum network. Her sacrifice ensured that her work would continue even if she didn't survive. The loss of such a brilliant mind was a heavy blow to the resistance, but it also hardened their resolve. Samantha's final data transmission contained the blueprints for a technology that could potentially turn the tide of the war, a way to adapt human DNA to withstand the effects of alien weaponry. Major David Cho, upon hearing of Samantha's fate, volunteered immediately to be the first test subject for this new procedure. "She gave her life for this," he said as he prepared to enter the experimental chamber. "The least I can do is risk mine to see it through." The process was agonizing, pushing David's body to its limits as his genetic structure was altered at the most fundamental level. But when he emerged, he found himself imbued with extraordinary resilience. Energy blasts that would have vaporized him before now felt like mere sunburn. As more volunteers stepped forward to undergo the procedure, humanity gained its first super soldiers. These enhanced humans became the spearhead of a new offensive strategy, able to go toe-to-toe with alien shock troops in direct combat. The invaders, faced with this unexpected development, began to show the first signs of uncertainty. Their carefully laid plans for planetary conquest were unraveling in the face of a species that seemed to grow stronger with each setback. In the occupied territories, civilians who had lived under alien rule for months found new courage to resist. Underground networks flourished, passing information and sabotaging enemy operations. Every human, from children to the elderly, became a potential threat to the invaders. President Rodriguez, emboldened by the string of recent victories, decided it was time to take a calculated risk. Using intelligence gathered by Commander Sarah Lee's orbital observations, she planned a daring strike against the aliens' main command ship, which had remained in high Earth orbit since the invasion began. "This is our chance to cut off the head of the snake," she told her war council. "If we can disrupt their central command, we might just turn this invasion into a rout." The plan was audacious, combining every breakthrough and tactic humanity had developed over months of desperate resistance. Enhanced soldiers would use reversed-engineered alien shuttle craft to approach the command ship under the cover of a massive Babel field. Meanwhile, a global network of EMP disruptors would fire simultaneously, creating a planet-wide electromagnetic pulse to disable the alien fleet's defenses. As the day of the operation dawned, tension gripped every member of the resistance. They knew that this could be the turning point of the war, for better or worse. Failure would leave Earth vulnerable to a devastating counterattack. Success could pave the way for humanity's ultimate victory. In resistance bases around the world, soldiers and civilians alike held their breath as the mission commenced. Major David Cho, leading the assault team, felt a mix of fear and determination as his stolen alien craft approached the massive command ship looming above the Earth. "Remember," he told his team, his voice steady despite the stakes, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who has ever lived, and for all those yet to be born. Today, we show the universe what it means to be human." As they made their final approach, a message crackled through their quantum comms. It was President Rodriguez, addressing not just the assault team, but all of humanity. "My fellow Earthlings," she began, her voice filled with emotion, "no matter what happens today, know that you have already achieved the impossible. You have faced an enemy from beyond the stars, armed with technology we can barely comprehend, and you have not only survived, you have pushed them back. You have proven that the human spirit, our creativity, our determination, our love for our home and each other, is the most powerful force in the universe." Her words steeled the resolve of every resistance fighter. As the assault craft breached the command ship's outer defenses, humanity held its collective breath. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. But for the first time since the invasion began, there was more than just hope in the air. There was the unshakable belief that humanity, against all odds, would emerge victorious. The hidden advantage. The alien command ship loomed before them, a colossal structure of dark metal and pulsing energy fields. Major David Cho and his team of enhanced soldiers approached in their stolen shuttle, hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. The fate of humanity rested on the success of their mission. "Bagel Field at maximum strength," reported Lieutenant Zara Ahmed, her fingers dancing over the shuttle's modified controls. "We're invisible to their sensors, for now." David nodded grimly. "Remember, people, we've got one shot at this. Let's make it count." As they maneuvered towards a potential entry point, a sudden flare of energy from the command ship caught them off guard. The shuttle rocked violently, alarms blaring. "They've detected us," Zara shouted over the din. "The Babel field is failing." David's mind raced. This wasn't part of the plan, but years of combat had taught him to adapt on the fly. "New plan," he barked. "We're going in hot. Brace for impact." With a skill born of desperation, David piloted the failing shuttle directly towards the command ship's hull. The impact was jarring, but the enhanced physiology of the soldiers allowed them to shake off injuries that would have incapacitated normal humans. As they fought their way through the alien vessel, facing fierce resistance at every turn, something unexpected began to happen. David noticed that his reflexes seemed sharper, his strength greater than even his enhanced state should allow. Looking at his team, he saw the same realization dawning on their faces. "Sir," Zara said between bursts of covering fire, I think we're still evolving." Before David could respond, a group of alien defenders rounded the corner, energy weapons blazing. But instead of diving for cover, David found himself moving with impossible speed, dodging blasts that should have been too fast to avoid. His team followed suit, their movements becoming a blur as they closed the distance and engaged the aliens in hand-to-hand combat. The aliens, caught off guard by this display of superhuman ability, fell quickly. As the last one crumpled to the ground, David stared at his hands in amazement. "What's happening to us?" he wondered aloud. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the global EMP strike had successfully disabled much of the alien fleet, but the victory was bittersweet. As reports flooded in from around the world, a disturbing pattern emerged. Dr. Elena Rossi, one of the lead scientists continuing Dr. Chen's work, noticed it first. "The EMP, it's affecting our people too," she reported to President Rodriguez, her voice tight with concern, "but not in the way we expected." Across the globe, humans who had been in close proximity to the pulse were experiencing rapid, unpredictable mutations. Some gained abilities similar to the enhanced soldiers, while others developed more exotic traits: the ability to photosynthesize, to sense electromagnetic fields, even to manipulate gravity on a small scale. President Rodriguez, watching the reports flood in, felt a mix of hope and trepidation. It seems, she mused, that in our quest to defend ourselves, we may have unlocked something hidden within our own DNA. The implications were staggering. Humanity, in its desperate bid for survival, had inadvertently triggered the next stage of its own evolution. But there was no time to fully process its development. The war still raged, and the assault team's fate remained unknown. Aboard the International Space Station, Commander Sarah Lee and her crew watched in awe as the disabled alien ships drifted in orbit. But their celebration was cut short as they noticed a new phenomenon. The upper atmosphere was beginning to glow with an eerie, shifting light. "It's like the aurora," Sarah murmured, "but it's worldwide, and it's intensifying." As she relayed this information to ground control, scientists around the world scrambled to understand what was happening. The prevailing theory was that the global EMP, combined with the alien technology and the newly awakened human abilities, had created a feedback loop in Earth's magnetosphere. The Earth itself was changing, responding to the conflict that raged across its surface and in the space above. It was as if the planet had decided to take an active role in its own defense. Back on the alien command ship, David and his team fought their way towards a central control room, their newfound abilities giving them a crucial edge. But as they advanced, they began to encounter resistance of a different kind. "Major," called out Corporal Jin Park, the team's tech specialist, "I'm picking up some strange readings. It's like the ship is alive." David felt it too, a palpable sense of awareness emanating from the very walls around them. The alien technology, far more advanced than they had realized, seemed to be adapting to their presence, learning from each encounter. As they finally breached the control room, they found themselves face to face with the alien commander, a being of swirling energy barely contained within a humanoid form. Its voice, when it spoke, resonated directly in their minds. "You fight well, humans," it communicated, a note of grudging respect in its telepathic voice. "But you cannot hope to comprehend the forces you have unleashed." David stepped forward, his team flanking him. "We understand enough," he replied defiantly. "We know that we'll never submit, no matter the cost." The alien commander regarded them silently for a moment. Then, to their surprise, it laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in a cosmic wind. "Oh, humans," it said, genuine amusement in its mental voice. "You have no idea of your true potential, do you? This war, it was never about conquest." Confusion rippled through the assault team. David's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? Why invade if not to conquer?" The alien's form shimmered, its energy pulsing with what seemed like excitement. "We came to awaken you, to push your species to its limits. For eons we have traveled the stars, seeking races with the potential to join us among the cosmos. But that potential must be earned, proven through trial by fire." The implications of this revelation stunned the human soldiers. Their entire understanding of the conflict, of their place in the universe, shifted in an instant. "You mean," Zara began, her voice trailing off as she struggled to comprehend. "Yes," the alien confirmed. "This war was a test, one that you, against all our predictions, are on the verge of passing. As this conversation unfolded in the alien command ship, the effects of humanity's rapid evolution continued to manifest on Earth. Cities that had been reduced to rubble began to rebuild themselves, guided by the collective will of their newly empowered inhabitants. The wounded found themselves healing at miraculous rates, while the dead, to the shock and joy of their loved ones, began to stir, their consciousness reintegrated into rejuvenated bodies. The fabric of reality itself seemed to bend to humanity's awakening potential. The laws of physics, once thought immutable, became malleable in the hands of those who had glimpsed the true nature of existence. President Rodriguez, witnessing these miraculous events unfold, realized that the world would never be the same. The question now was not whether humanity would survive, but what it would become. In orbit, Commander Sarah Lee and her crew watched in awe as the glowing atmospheric phenomenon intensified. Suddenly, their instruments detected a massive energy surge emanating from the planet's core. "My God," Sarah breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's like the Earth is evolving along with us." As the energy wave expanded outward, enveloping the planet and reaching into space, every human, from the soldiers on the alien command ship to the civilians emerging from underground bunkers, felt a profound connection. In that moment, humanity experienced a collective awakening, a sudden understanding of its place in the cosmic order. They were no longer just inhabitants of Earth, but custodians of a living planet, part of a greater galactic community. The war that had pushed them to the brink of extinction had also propelled them to the threshold of a new era. Back on the command ship, David Cho looked at the alien commander, a new resolve in his eyes. "So, what happens now?" he asked, his voice steady despite the weight of this cosmic revelation. The alien's energy form pulsed with what could only be described as pride. "Now, humans of Earth, you take your first steps into a larger universe. The real journey is just beginning." As these words echoed through the minds of every human, a sense of unprecedented unity swept across the planet. The invasion that had threatened to end humanity had instead forged it into something greater, a species ready to claim its place among the stars. The alien ships, no longer a threat but now a promise of new horizons, began to power down. The war was over, but the most exciting chapter in human history was about to begin. President Rodriguez, standing atop the ruins of what was once a unity not just by technology, but by the newfound psychic link shared by all humanity, reached every ear and heart. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice filled with emotion and hope, "today marks not the end of our struggle, but the beginning of our ascension. We have been tested, and we have emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The stars await us, and we shall meet them not as conquerors, but as explorers, peacekeepers, and guardians of life in all its forms." As her words resonated across the globe, humans everywhere felt a surge of purpose and possibility. The scars of war began to heal, both on the Earth's surface and in the hearts of its people. A new age dawned, one of discovery, growth, and cosmic responsibility. The invasion was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The turning point. The dawn of a new era broke over Earth, bathing the heaving planet in a light that seemed more vibrant than ever before. Humanity, newly awakened to its cosmic potential, faced the monumental task of rebuilding and redefining its place in the universe. In what was once Central Park, now a lush oasis of alien and terrestrial plant life growing in harmonic symbiosis, Major David Cho stood before a gathering of world leaders, scientists, and representatives from the Alien Coalition. The park had become a symbol of Earth's transformation, a place where the scars of war had given way to unprecedented beauty and vitality. "We've come a long way," David began, his voice carrying easily across the assembled crowd without the need for amplification. Like many humans, he had discovered that his newfound abilities included forms of communication that transcended traditional speech. "But our journey is far from over." President Rodriguez, standing beside him, nodded in agreement. The challenges we face now are perhaps even greater than those we overcame during the invasion, she added. We must learn to wield our new abilities responsibly, to coexist with the myriad forms of life across the galaxy, and to navigate the complex political landscape of interstellar civilization. As if to underscore her point, a holographic display materialized above the gathering, showing the vast network of inhabited worlds that humanity was now a part of. It was a humbling and exhilarating sight, thousands of points of light, each representing a unique culture, history, and ecosystem. Dr. Elena Rossi, who had taken up the mantle of lead scientist following Dr. Chen's sacrifice, stepped forward. Our first priority, she said, her eyes gleaming with the excitement of discovery, is to understand the full extent of our transformation. We're still evolving, still changing. Each day brings new revelations about our capabilities and our connection to the cosmos. Indeed, in the weeks following the end of the invasion, humanity had witnessed an explosion of diverse abilities among its population. Some found they could manipulate matter at the quantum level, while others developed a symbiotic relationship with technology, interfacing directly with machines in ways previously thought impossible. Still others discovered an affinity for bending space-time, making interstellar travel a tangible possibility without the need for massive ships. But with these gifts came significant challenges. Reports of accidental destruction caused by individuals unable to control their new powers were becoming increasingly common. The very fabric of society was being strained as traditional power structures and laws struggled to adapt to a population of near-demigods. Commander Sarah Lee, who had returned from the International Space Station to become Earth's first extraterrestrial ambassador, addressed these concerns. We must remember, she said, her voice tinged with the wisdom gained from her unique perspective, that with great power comes great responsibility. Our goal now is not just to explore the stars, but to become worthy custodians of the cosmic legacy we've inherited. As the assembly discussed the path forward, a ripple of excitement passed through the crowd. A delegation of alien representatives, led by the energy being that had once commanded the invasion fleet, approached the stage. The alien leader, who had taken the name Nexus for easier communication with humans, addressed the gathering. Its form shimmered with pulses of light that somehow conveyed both congratulations and caution. Humans of Earth, Nexus began, its thoughts resonating in the minds of all present. You have proven yourselves worthy of joining the galactic community. But know this, the trials you have faced are but a prelude to the challenges that lie ahead. A murmur of concern rippled through the crowd. Nexus continued, there are forces in this universe that seek to extinguish the light of consciousness, to return all to the void of unthinking matter. Your species, with its unique blend of adaptability, creativity, and now cosmic awareness, may be the key to preserving the flame of life across the galaxy. The weight of this revelation settled over the assembly. Humanity, so recently on the brink of extinction, now found itself thrust into a role of cosmic importance. The responsibility was enormous, almost overwhelming. But then, a voice rang out from the crowd. It was Hiroshi Tanaka, the young engineer whose quantum communication breakthrough had been crucial in humanity's resistance. We didn't come this far to back down now, he said, his voice filled with determination. If the universe needs defenders, then that's what we'll become. His words sparked a chorus of agreement from the assembled humans. The fear and uncertainty that had briefly gripped them gave way to a renewed sense of purpose. This, they realized, was why they had been tested, why they had evolved, not just to survive, but to become guardians of life itself. Inspired by this show of resolve, President Rodriguez took center stage once more. My fellow humans and our new allies, she began, her voice ringing with authority and hope. Today we stand at a turning point, not just for our species, but for all life in the cosmos. We have been given a great gift, and with it, a great responsibility. Let us embrace this challenge with the same courage and ingenuity that saw us through our darkest hours. As she spoke, the holographic display above them shifted, showing not just the network of inhabited worlds, but the vast, mostly empty expanses between them. These dark spaces, Nexus explained, were where the true battles for the future of life would be fought. "We must prepare," the alien leader intoned, "not just with weapons and technology, but with understanding and wisdom. The enemy we face is not one that can be defeated through force alone. It requires a fundamental shift in the way we perceive reality and our place within it." In response to this, Dr. Rossi proposed the creation of a new institution, the Cosmic Academy. This organization would be dedicated to exploring the limits of humanity's new abilities, developing ethical guidelines for their use, and preparing the next generation for the challenges of cosmic guardianship. Major Cho, drawing on his military experience, suggested the formation of an interstellar peacekeeping force. This group would not only defend against external threats, but also help maintain balance and promote cooperation among the various species of the galactic community. As the discussion continued, plans began to take shape. Earth would become a hub of interstellar diplomacy and scientific research. The Moon, once a distant goal, would be transformed into a launching point for humanity's ventures into deep space. Mars, already showing signs of rapid terraforming thanks to humanity's newfound abilities, would become a second home for the species, a proof of concept for humanity's role as nurturers of life across the cosmos. But even as these grand plans were laid, a sobering reminder of the challenges ahead arrived. A distress signal, detected by Earth's newly enhanced long-range sensors, brought news of a distant world under attack by the very forces Nexus had warned about. The signal was faint, barely perceptible, but its message was clear: a plea for help from a civilization on the brink of annihilation. A new horizon, the vastness of space, stretched out before the observation deck of the interstellar vessel Hope. Captain Zara Ahmed, once a lieutenant in humanity's desperate resistance, now stood as the commander of Earth's most advanced peacekeeping ship. As she gazed at the swirling nebula ahead, a smile played on her lips. It had been 50 years since humanity's cosmic awakening, and the universe had never seemed more alive, more full of wonder. "Captain," a voice called from behind her. It was Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka Jr., son of the engineer who had helped save Earth. "We're receiving a transmission from the Andromeda Alliance. They're requesting our assistance with a delicate diplomatic situation." Zara nodded, her eyes twinkling with the reflected light of distant stars. "Plot a course, Doctor. It seems our services are needed once again." As the ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Zara reflected on how far they had come. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged as guardians of life across the cosmos. They had made allies, faced terrifying enemies, and pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible. Yet, for all their power and knowledge, humans had never lost touch with what made them unique: their compassion, their creativity, their indomitable spirit. "Ready for jump, Captain," the ship's AI announced, its voice a harmonious blend of organic and synthetic tones. "Engage," Zara commanded. As the Hope leaped into the cosmic stream, carrying its crew towards new adventures and challenges, Zara felt a surge of pride and excitement. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but humanity was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Their greatest journey, she knew, was only just beginning.